I still remember the night I first realized I was not alone. It had been 2 months since my husband, Adifir, had moved to another city for work. We had no choice. His promotion demanded his presence in Mumbai, while I remained behind in our old house in Pune. The plan was for me to join him later, but for now, I was alone in the house where we had built our memories together. At first, everything seemed normal. I kept myself occupied with work, house chores, and video calls with Adifir. But soon, strange things began happening. It started with the feeling of being watched. At night, I would wake up to an eerie silence, my skin crawling as if someone was standing beside my bed. I brushed it off as paranoia, blaming it on my loneliness. Then, the dreams began. Vivid, disturbing dreams. In them, a shadowy figure would hover over me, whispering in a language I couldn't understand. The whispers felt too real, like someone was right next to my ear. I woke up breathless, my body drenched in sweat, and an unnatural coldness filling the room. The most horrifying night came when I felt something touching me. It wasn't a fleeting sensation, it was firm, deliberate. I was frozen in fear, unable to scream or move. My breath came out in ragged gasps as I felt an invisible force press against me, a presence so heavy I thought I was suffocating. I forced myself to turn on the bedside lamp, and as soon as the light flooded the room, the sensation vanished. I was alone again. Terrified, I called Adifir that night. I told him everything, the dreams, the feeling of being watched, and the ghostly touch. But he dismissed it, saying I was stressed and imagining things. His words didn't comfort me, they only made me feel more alone. Over the next few days, things escalated. Objects in the house moved on their own. My phone would vibrate with calls from an unknown number, and when I answered, there was only heavy breathing on the other end. Doors creaked open and shut without reason, and the air in the house felt suffocating. The entity's presence grew stronger, more aggressive. I knew it wasn't just in my mind. One night, I decided to record myself sleeping. I set up my phone's camera before going to bed, determined to capture proof. When I checked the footage the next morning, my blood ran cold. The video showed me sleeping peacefully for the first few hours, but then, around 3 a.m., something chilling happened. The blanket slid off my body on its own. My hair moved as if someone was running their fingers through it. And then, my body shifted. Not like normal tossing and turning, but as if something unseen was pulling me. The last few seconds of the video showed a dark, shadowy figure at the foot of my bed, watching me before vanishing into the darkness. Shaking, I sent the video to Adifir. This time, he didn't dismiss me. He called immediately, his voice laced with worry. "Pack your bags. I'm coming to get you," he said. That night, he arrived. We both stayed awake, waiting, watching. At 3 a.m., the horror unfolded before our eyes. The room turned icy cold. A foul stench filled the air. And then, right in front of us, the closet door creaked open, revealing nothing but darkness. A whisper filled the air, low, guttural, and filled with malice. The temperature dropped further, and for the first time, Adifir felt the invisible force. Something unseen brushed against him, and he stumbled back, his face pale with fear. "This isn't normal," he murmured. "We need help." The next morning, we went to the church and spoke to Father Anthony. After listening intently, he agreed to visit the house. He walked through each room, praying and sprinkling holy water. But when he reached the bedroom, he stopped abruptly, his face darkening. "This house holds a restless spirit," he said. "A tormented soul." He began his prayers, and as he did, the house trembled. A sharp, piercing wail filled the air. A shadowy figure materialized for just a second before vanishing with an agonized shriek. The air felt lighter, the darkness lifting. Father Anthony turned to us. "This spirit was once a woman who lived here. She was abandoned and died in sorrow. Her soul never left, and she latched onto you, seeking companionship, seeking to feel loved." Adifir and I exchanged horrified glances. The entity had been trying to replace him, to claim me as her own. "We cannot stay here," I whispered. Father Anthony nodded. "Leave. The house is tainted. Even if her presence weakens, she will never truly be gone." That very night, we packed our belongings and left. As we drove away, I turned back one last time. The house stood still and silent. But in the window of our bedroom, I saw her, a shadowy figure watching us leave, her presence lingering in the darkness. We never returned. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night with the eerie feeling that someone was watching you? That creeping sensation of being observed, even when alone? For most, it's just a trick of the mind. But what if it wasn't? What if the eyes watching you were real, lurking in the darkness of your own room, waiting for you to fall asleep again? I never thought much about fear. I considered myself rational, practical. But nothing in my life prepared me for what I endured when I moved into that apartment. A nightmare hidden in plain sight. If you think monsters hide under the bed, you're wrong. Sometimes, they live much closer. It all started when I moved into a cozy yet slightly worn-down apartment in the heart of the city. The rent was surprisingly cheap, considering the location. I chalked it up to luck and signed the lease without a second thought. The landlord, a frail old man, handed me the keys with an odd smile, almost as if he knew something I didn't. At first, everything seemed normal. The apartment had a musty smell, but nothing an open window couldn't fix. Days passed uneventfully, but nights were different. I would wake up feeling strangely exhausted, my body sore, as if I had been tossing and turning all night. But I never remembered any nightmares. Then, the unsettling details began. I'd find my bedsheets slightly displaced in the morning, as if someone had been in my bed. My toiletries were moved. My phone charger, always plugged in by my bedside, was sometimes missing and found in odd places, like the kitchen counter or the living room floor. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I was groggy, maybe I was forgetting things. But deep down, something felt off. One night, I set my phone to record while I slept. I wanted to prove to myself that I was just imagining things. But when I played the footage the next morning, my hands trembled. Around 3 a.m., my bedroom door creaked open. A shadow moved toward my bed. The figure loomed over me for minutes, standing eerily still. Then, slowly, it lifted my sheets and crawled into bed beside me. I stopped watching. My stomach twisted in fear. Who was that? How had they gotten in? Was this some kind of sick prank? But no, this was real. I reported it to the landlord, but his response sent chills down my spine. "Oh, you noticed? He's harmless, for the most part." He refused to say more. That night, I didn't sleep. I pretended to, keeping my body still, listening. Around 3 a.m., the door creaked. My heart pounded as I felt the mattress sink beside me. Breath, slow and steady, close enough that I could feel it against my neck. My blood turned to ice. With all my strength, I turned and lashed out, flicking on the lamp in one motion. The bed was empty. The room silent. But my closet door was slightly ajar. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my keys and ran. I never went back. Later, I learned the truth. The previous tenant had been different. He lived there long before I did, a man obsessed with watching people sleep. And when he died, some say his spirit never left. So, if you ever wake up feeling watched, be careful. You might not be alone. Sleep tight. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video to show your support and help us create more content like this. Share it with your friends and family who love thrilling and spooky tales. Comment below your thoughts, theories, or your own scary experiences. I'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to TerraFlix and hit the bell icon to never miss a chilling story. Stay tuned for more spine-tingling adventures.